Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. This is a show about business and market culture in and around St. John's, Newfoundland. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew, owner and operator at Engine Books, the province's fastest growing independent publisher of books. Thank you for joining us for another wonderful, amazing episode of the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac. Today I am joined with Andrea Maunder, and she is the business owner behind Saucy and Sweet, a specialty food vendor at the St. John's Farmers Market. Thank you for joining us, Andrea.
My pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to be here. I agree. More people should know. No. Tell me about your business, the Saucy and Sweet there. Give us the rundown.
So I started it about 6 years ago, I guess. Some of the products I've been making for probably 30 years or more. So some of them are getting close to perfection, perhaps after several decades. But I make a line of preserves, which is anything from jams, jellies. I make a blueberry ketchup that has sort of a curry impression. I do hot sauces. The most recent one is called the Arsizadever, and that's made with ghost peppers. Pepper jellies, a line of syrups for cocktails and beverages. I have caramel sauce that goes crazy, mole. And then, of course, I bring in things in season. So whenever I can get something locally, for example, in the summertime in Newfoundland, we have a lot of wild roses. So I'll do a wild rose syrup. In the fall, of course, there's rose hips. So I'll do a rose hip product. So it's sort of, it's dependent as it can be on local berries and produce, including a lot from the vendors at the farmers market. And then a lot of things that are sort of staples that I know people are going to be looking for all year round.
That's amazing. That's really wonderful. So what? Okay, I've got to try some of this stuff now. I can't believe I haven't but some of it's going to harm me physically. Ghost peppers. Oh my God, what are you thinking? That's my weakness. I love ghost peppers, but they do not love me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, I always say it's aptly named.
Yeah, because you will end up a ghost. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so what was the impetus behind this? What started you on this jam and jelly journey?
Yeah, I've always loved doing preserves. It's something that I've always done. There's one product I have right now called Ode to Audrey. Audrey was my grandmother, and it's made from green tomatoes, which of course are only available in the fall of the year in Newfoundland. And I made a big batch when I got hold of a load of them. And I call it Ode to Audrey because it's nostalgic for me. I can remember, olfactory memory is probably the strongest one we have. I'm a sommelier as well, so that whole aroma and flavor profile, as well as a chef, but the whole aroma flavor profile is something that's really it's kind of stuck in my craw all the time, and I remember walking in Nan's house and having the aroma of the green tomato pickles, and I can really smell that. I remember probably about 25 years ago, I was living in Ottawa, and a friend of mine's mom visited from Iran, and I was just young at the time, and she was making jam out of eggplant and carrot and all this crazy stuff. And I'm a little girl coming from Newfoundland, going, I'm sure you don't do that with carrots. But she included cardamom and rose water and really interesting flavors. And so a lot of times I'm inspired. I have a product right now, which I call Persian breakfast, which is a carrot jam, which in my taste memory is very close to the one that my friend's mom made. She may not think so, but I'm really driven by taste memory and the ability to create something very, very, brand new, like my blueberry ketchup, which is inspired by spices, sort of a spice collection from Bengal. And I love creating something new and surprising people, but I also love the recreation of a sense memory that I have, and being able to share that with people is really cool. A lot of my products are things that you can add to things that you're making or dishes that you're making that make give you the opportunity to add flavor much more easily. So instead of spending hours trying to create something, you can just add a little bit of the sauce or jelly or whatever that you're using from the Saucy and Sweet line, and make something delicious that you want to eat rather than just sort of food that you need to get in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sounds amazing. All right.
Yeah.
I have some follow-up questions on that.
Yep.
Okay, so you were talking about olfactory memory there a second ago, which I have to talk about and narrow in on and get you to talk about for a second, because I only recently learned about this. So I'm a writer by trade. I was reading an article that it turns out a small percentage, like less than 5% of the population, but still a significant amount, doesn't have a mind's eye. Like when they read a
Oh,
book, they can't picture it like a movie in their head, or they can't, like if they have a loved one that's passed, they can't just conjure the memory of what they look like. They have to actually look at a pit. Like some people don't have a mind's eye, like their brain.
wow.
But and then the article went on to say not everyone, also a much larger percentage, like more like 15 to 20%, don't have a mind's nose and can't conjure the smell of something from memory. And I'm like, people can do that, and that's how I learned that I don't have that.
Oh. So if I say to you, in the olden days before COVID, I was at the farmer's market, I was able to have all my products being able to be sampled. So I'd have, little jars of things, put them in little jars and give people sticks and they could dip in and, one dip only and taste all the products. So now, of course, I have to describe for people the flavor and aroma of the product. And I've got pretty good at that. So there's one product I have called chai cider jelly. It's very popular. So for most people, and obviously this isn't going to work for you, I don't think, because I would say to most people, imagine the aroma of warm cider. Now add the aroma of cinnamon. Now add a little black pepper. Now add a little, and I go on. But clearly that wouldn't work for you. So the only way that you're going to be able to appreciate a product is to taste it or smell it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How interesting. So
No,
if I say to you, go.
I can remember if I liked something, like some of
Yes.
those things where you're like pepper. Like I went to a cider tasting
Yeah.
once, and one was like infused with black pepper, and I remember I really liked it. I can't conjure the memory of that taste, but like if you describe that to me, I can go like, oh yes, I recall liking something that was described that way before. Give me that. But that's it. Like I can't actually like remember what it tasted like.
Wow. How interesting is that? So if I say the smell of walking by Mary Brown's,
No.
doesn't you don't retain it. How
No.
amazing is that? How interesting. I didn't know that some people didn't have that.
I didn't know that anyone did have that until I read that article, because
Right. You have
why?
no way to know.
Because how often do you sit around with your friends with a beer and say, hey, does everyone remember what smells smell like?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a topic of conversation you're going to have naturally.
Yeah. So when you do your sommelier training, there are kits of the aromas of that are in wine. And the interesting thing about the aromas in wine is that they are, if you smell strawberry, it's because the molecular structure of that wine actually is similar to the molecular structure of strawberry. So that's why you really do smell strawberry in the wine, or cherry or tobacco or whatever it is you're smelling. It's not that it has been added to it or anything like that, but the way that the molecules align is similar to that, is how it was explained to me. I'm probably not doing the best job of explaining.
No, that's
But
wonderful.
the little wine kits actually have little vials that you smell to help you identify those things in the wine.
Yeah.
So as you smelled it, you would like or dislike the smell. But if you smelt the little vial, you wouldn't say, "Oh, that smells like strawberries to me."
Yeah.
Wow.
I would never ever think, oh, that smells like something else. Every so often I'll get like, because when I'm actually in the presence of something and I smell it, obviously I
Yes.
go like, oh, that reminds me. But like I could never conjure it just on my own afterwards. So like at a wine tasting, I'm useless, because like somebody will give me something like, what do you taste in this? And I was like, wine. Like
Yeah.
I I taste what's currently there and can't
Yes.
link it to something else in the past.
Wow. How interesting is that? Yeah, I had no
Um,
idea.
yeah, if you put ingredients like my wife does a wonderful like a chicken dish with all these wonderful spices in it. I cannot isolate a different spice. Like it all just tastes like my wife's chicken. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, by the same token, unless you had a recipe, you would not, if she made it yesterday and you'd say, oh, I want to make that for my buddies today, you're not going to be able to reproduce that flavor, are you?
Oh, people could do that?
All the time. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
so frustrating to me.
Yeah. So that's I guess the part of being a chef. And I have friends that I wonder about this now, although I'm pretty sure we've had sort of that, oh, do you remember the aroma of, your nan's perfume or whatever? But there are people who will not veer from a recipe for fear of, or will not make a substitution if they see something in a recipe because they don't have the concept. And I think maybe some of those folks are folks like you who just don't have that mind's nose.
Apparently it's 1 in 5. It's
Wow.
not like terribly rare, but like I it's funny because I worked as a cook for a little while and had like, oh, like if I wasn't a writer, like if my skill set didn't go that way, I like cooking. Like I would have loved to have been a chef or something like that. I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But it's rough because it is difficult. Like there's a bit of like doing things by taste, like and like messing with a recipe and getting it the way you want it. But like when I taste something, I can't go, ooh, that needs more X. Like it is very much a gamble because I'm like, that's good, but I can't differentiate from what it was like before I put in that ingredient because I can't remember.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Other thing I wanted to talk to you about was blueberry ketchup.
Yeah.
I might have to get this next time I'm at the market, but what? So you're gonna have to explain to me what blueberry ketchup is for, because my initial thought might be the wrong one, where it's like, that's an odd thing to put on a hot dog, but maybe it is a good thing to put on a hot dog or a hamburger. Basically, what do you use blueberry ketchup for? By
Yeah.
your recommendation.
Yeah, so people use it on all kinds of things. I mean, I've gone to friends' houses and they've served it on pate. It's great on burgers, sausages, hot dogs. I've served it with meatballs. I've served it with chicken. So it's a base of blueberries. There is no the name sort of ketchup refers to the smooth texture of it, as opposed to the fact that there are no tomatoes in it. So it's just blueberries. It has a vinegar in it as well and sugar. So it's got that sweet, tangy flavor. And then it's got a spice mixture from Bengal. It's called panch phoran. If you know anything about Indian cuisine, garam masala, sort of to, the bulk of India, is what panch phoran is to the region of Bengal. And so it's a mixture of 5 spices that I toast and grind and add to it. So it gives you the impression of the flavor of curry, but not that there's an overt sort of yellow curry powder taste if you taste anything that's got that in it. And this doesn't have that. So it's a more sort of refined flavor and smooth texture with a little bit of heat. So, I mean, I've got a friend who loves it on her white puddings. People tell me they use it for all kinds of things, even barbecue sauce. So it's something, it's sort of one of those condiments that you'd reach for to add to anything. If you were, say, at home on a weeknight and you had a few sausages in the freezer, or a bit of chicken, you could just cook that off and use this as a condiment to kind of make your food tasty. Serve it with a bit of rice, maybe, or a bit of potato.
That sounds amazing. Okay, definitely gonna pick that up. That's wonderful. Andrea, what are 3 books or movies that you would want with you if you were trapped on a desert island for the rest of your life?
Oh, wow. My favorite movies are a lot of foodie movies. There's one I rewatched recently, which is called Babette's Feast. It's a production, I don't even know, I think it was maybe the 70s that it was made. And it's about this she's a French chef, though nobody knows that she is. It's rare for women to be chefs in those days. And she's fleeing the Nazis. So I guess it's set in, World War II time.
Or currently, one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows, right? So she takes refuge with these old sisters who are living in this outpost. And I don't think it ever sort of says where they are, but it looks like some sort of bleak part of Norway or Denmark or something like that. And they are this sort of very religious outpost community. The old sisters had opportunities to marry and have a life, but their father didn't let them because they were supposed to devote their lives to the word and all that sort of thing. And so there's not so much, it's not a religious movie at all, but the whole thing is that they eat only to sustain themselves, and they live to serve, and they serve the community, and they're beautiful people. And they take her in, they can't afford to pay her. So she basically becomes the maid to them. And then something happens and she cooks this incredible feast, which sort of, and you see, and I'm not giving anything away with this because it's still such a beautiful movie, but you see the transition of people at the table from austerity. We're saying, well, we're not going to enjoy this. It's just the food. We're just eat this, because they see her bringing in all these amazing ingredients and stuff that she brings over from France. And then at the end, you see sort of the transformation of people just through the sharing of beautiful food and flavors. So it's almost like an awakening for them in a kind of a way, which is it's really very beautiful and cool. So that's definitely one. There's another movie I absolutely love, Don Juan DeMarco, which is an early Johnny Depp movie. Have you ever seen it?
Have not.
No. So I picked it up one night back in the DVD days, might have been VHS, and watched it with my mom and stepdad. And it's a real suspension of disbelief. Marlon Brando is in it, and Faye Dunaway, I think it's, yes, Faye Dunaway. And some other actors you'd recognize too. But the whole thing is this young man is delusional, takes place in New York, believes he's Don Juan DeMarco, and tells this story. And it's the reversal, because Marlon Brando is a retiring psychiatrist who is supposed to be curing Johnny Depp, but it turns out to be the other way around. So that's kind of cool too. And is there a book or another movie? Like I say, most of my favorite movies are foodie movies. Hello, Puss.
What a good girl you are. Ratatouille.
Oh, I loved Ratatouille. I really did. Yeah, that was amazing. Loved it. Yeah, that'd be high up on the list too. There's some that you can rewatch again and again, and that's definitely one of the ones for sure. Yeah, there's other food. We can certainly say Ratatouille because it was just sweet.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good. Have you seen Chef, the one with Jon Favreau and Scarlett Johansson? So good. Yeah,
it's excellent. Yeah, and he actually studied culinary school. He went to culinary school in order to be able to do the movie. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I make that dish that he did with the cellar, the one for the Scarlett Johansson, the spaghetti and the I love pasta and making different things. I love garlic is one of the few things that I feel I do have a sense memory for, because I'm just
okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. All right, Andrea, who, if anyone, inspired you to start a business?
This is not my first one, because I had Vincent's cappuccino bars way back in the day. They were the first cappuccino bars in St. John's. The first one was up in Churchill Square, and then I had my second location, which is where Sun Sushi is now, across from the War Memorial.
Okay.
I've always been entrepreneurial, and I've done other things. I mean, my background is also in fundraising and public relations, which I've done with for-profit and not-for-profit organizations over the years. I've been a consultant. I studied aesthetics as well. So that's where, makeup, manicure, pedicure, facials, all that sort of stuff, and worked in that for a while, and had a little business sort of on the side with that. And then I had Bacalao Restaurant here, which closed just a couple of years ago. So I think I've always been entrepreneurially bent, and I have an interest in a lot of things. So I think I have more ambition and interest than I have time. So it's bigger than me most of the time. I can't help myself. It's just something I got to do.
I feel you. I feel you. I people tell me I hustle a lot, and I'm like, I don't feel like I do. I feel like I'm not at my best self when I'm not working. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Yep. Like
Yeah,
some
I almost feel
people,
like you got to force yourself to take a break because you do. I mean, I definitely get burnt out. I don't know if if you do, but it's just you have to watch that as well. But
I have enough different things on the go that I can avoid it. Like I definitely get burnt out publishing, but then I have radio shows, which I do for fun, but it's still productive. Like everything I do to relax is also productive because that's the type of person I am.
cool.
Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting one for you. It's actually inspired by a different vendor. We were going to do an episode of our sister show with them. Andrea, if you were a jam, what kind of jam would you be?
Hmm. Um, Probably something with tropical fruit. I would say something that has quite interesting and unusual flavors, and maybe a combination that people didn't expect. Something like maybe a little passion fruit with a touch of ginger, and then maybe a little vanilla underneath.
Okay. Okay.
Something like that.
That does sound interesting. For some reason, when you said tropical fruit, my head went to, has anyone ever made like a Hawaiian pizza jam where you just get all
Oh.
the pizza, the flavors of a Hawaiian pizza and make a jam, a spread out of it?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I know people that do sort of a carrot cake jam, and people
Mm,
do bacon jams and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, the ham might be a hard part of it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how you'd work that flavor into it, unless you just sort of incorporate the smoke and the salt. That
Maybe.
could work. Yeah, it's a thought. I'll put it back here. It'll work on itself.
Right. Andrea, how did you select the name of your business? Tell me about that.
It was a friend of mine actually that helped me come up with that. We were kicking around a bunch of ideas. I definitely wanted something interesting. Something alliterative is always helpful. You know, when you have a business, something that is easy to remember, sort of stays in people's minds. And Saucy and Sweet definitely spoke to the kind of products that I do. Either everything I do is, it could be saucy because it's spicy. It
Mm-hmm.
could be saucy because it's a sauce. And then most of the things do have a touch of sweetness in them. So it just kind of, and it was definitely evocative of food as well. And then in Newfoundland, we just love, calling somebody saucy. So it had all the things that a Newfoundland business making preserves needed to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, take your time.
Sorry, that's really cool. Yeah, the saucy and sweet definitely sticks in my mind. It's also like evocative of phrases that has existed around food and in our culture for a long time. Like
Yes.
everyone knows like sweet and sour sauce. It's not the same, but it close enough that it makes you go, oh, I know what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing as when I named my restaurant Bacalao. And I was the first one to do really focus on local ingredients, but in more of a fine dining kind of situation. And I wanted a name that was definitely evocative of Newfoundland. So when you say bacalao, you think of bacaloo, right? So we know these things in Newfoundland. And bacalao means salt cod. So I wanted it to be sort of, if somebody traveled or was a little bit of a linguist, they would know that bacalao means salt cod. But also there's so many cultures that use saltfish in their cuisine that we could incorporate. But also to a Newfoundlander, it's going to be at once familiar because they know Bacaloo. So it gave all the ideas that I wanted it to, and that it was at once familiar and evocative at the same time. So
Excellent.
yeah, you need that, don't you, with the name of a business? It's got to be something that's that sticks with you because it's interesting in some way.
The alliterativeness is interesting too. You say that because it reminded me of Stan Lee. That's how he named all his characters, and that's why comic book
Yes.
characters have that. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, like all those ones that he created that do that. And it's interesting because he did it because he has a bad memory and wanted to be able to remember the names of the characters in the days before computers, you know, when it was easier to look stuff up or harder to look stuff up. But like it also makes it stick in the reader's mind. Like
Yes.
that is a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it?
Now I'm lamenting all of the book companies that have a B for their first name. Breakwater Books, Boulder Books. What was I thinking? Oh, Engine Books. What a fool I am.
But that's also recognizable and kind of evocative in its own way too, right?
I mean, it's I regret it to this day because like from like Engine Books is a made up word from it's a portmanteau of two words. So in our first book, there was it's a science fiction book. There's an evil corporation behind everything called Engine, and when we're trying to come up with a company name, we're like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we named our real company after the evil fake company? Haha, we're an evil company. Haha. It's no longer funny because everyone has to like ask, what the heck does that mean? One of my authors recently discovered that in Norwegian it means the meadow. So
Oh.
now I think I'm just going to lean into that. It's like, oh yes, they're like, are you Norwegian? Sure. No, I'm not.
But you know, as soon as I saw the name Engine, I'm a sci-fi lover,
Yeah.
total Trekkie. It immediately meant something to me when I saw Engine. It did give me that, and I had no idea about the book that you're talking about, but it
Yeah.
gave me that sci-fi feel.
Oh yeah.
So when I approach your table, I know that I'm going to be finding interesting sort of, you know, I love historical fiction, I love all kinds of stuff like that. So I know that I can look to the books that you publish as something that are going to be of interest to me. So I don't know if that's such a bad thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Andrea, do you read reviews of your business? And if so, how do you deal with good ones or bad ones?
There aren't a lot for this particular business. There certainly were for my restaurant. And I've always made a habit of reading reviews. I mean, in this sort of so techie world, you know, people can review all over the place. I'm fortunate with Saucy and Sweet that I haven't had any bad ones, or certainly not that I know of. What I find in this kind of business, and particularly where it's at the farmers market, if people have a problem with the product, let's say, I mean, with mason jars, there's the possibility that a seal could fail. And so somebody will send a message and let me know about that. And I'm so happy when they do, because I can replace a product. Or if somebody, you know, enjoyed a product and they found that it wasn't the same as they had from me, say 2 or 3 years ago. I like to know about that because I can let them know why I've changed it or something like that. So I really appreciate the feedback. People do comment on Facebook posts and Instagram posts, and with the square, I don't know if you've ever found that, but people have the opportunity to review your product or service with the square so they can actually send a message back to you. And so I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I definitely, I keep an eye out and always review. And if there is something that somebody has a suggestion or finds a problem with anything, I definitely want to hear about it.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is wonderful. Andrea, thank you for joining us on the St. John's Farmers Market Radio Almanac, the longest name to say in radio. And I'll get it wrong at some point, but not today. Everyone that's listening, please come down to the St. John's Farmers Market this Saturday and every Saturday and check out Saucy and Sweet, the wonderful venture of Andrea Maunder. Thank you for coming on, Andrea.
My pleasure. Great to be here. Great chat.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on again. For all of you listening, we'll be here the same time next week to talk more about business culture in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Be sure to drop by and visit our guests and all the other vendors at the St. John's Farmers Market this week.